Hello, my name is Melanie Nagley, and I am a member of the EF Plus Math Educator Leadership Council. And I am fortunate to get to work with and collaborate with the Mathematical Thinkers Like Me team, the MLM team. And in that work, I have learned about the 4 H's that protocol that was developed by Jamal Matthews, as well as the self affirmation writing tool that was shared to us by Luis Rivera. And um, in that work, I have utilize those practices and those protocols with my students, and that's what we're looking at now are the resources that I used just at the beginning of this school year, um, and that I want to share with you. One of the things that are in the folder is this humanizing math class um, blog that I wrote about the experience and the steps that I took to utilize the tool. So if you would like to read that too, um, it's a very short read to learn how I utilize the 4 H's and the self affirmation writing. And then there's also an article by Jamal that is very nice reading. And then I have organized the tools in different folders within this folder that we're going to share with you. And the way that I first did the 4 H's was I did a parent family survey that I passed out at Meet the Teacher Night. And I explained to my students, adults, and also my students about why I wanted them to fill out the survey and what I had hoped to do with that information. And so I just distributed that and I asked the students and the families to have those sent back to school the first week of school. So that's what's in that folder. And when I first got those back, I was really excited to learn a lot about my students and my families. And so in this document here, I have kind of taken all of that information and put it on one document from all of my students. So that's what you will find there. And even though I got a lot of really great information, I wanted more and I wanted to connect more with my students. And so I then engaged in a in class survey delivery, and I used a Google slide presentation, and I shared with my students what I was hoping to accomplish and why I was asking them to do what I was asking them to do. And then I distributed the 4 H's inventory and asked the students to respond to 4 questions as well as the one mandatory question. And so then I compiled that information from my students into this document that is in the folder. And it was interesting to see some of the similarities and then some of the differences that I got. And one thing that I noticed was that in the gathering of all of that information, I was still looking for more in relationship to students' culture and how those things are playing out in their lives and how math shows up in those areas as well. And so I felt like that I know that the self affirmation writing is not necessarily to gather information about students, and it's designed to for students to affirm themselves and to identify their values and things. But I also knew that if those students shared this information with me, that I would also learn more about them. And so I have this document that I shared with the students, and um, just asked them to pick their three the things that they valued the most and to write them into the table, and then to choose one of those and write more about the situation in which they when those things proved especially valuable and meaningful to them. And I also have that in a Google Slides presentation that I shared with them before I asked them to do the self affirmation writing. And so those things are in that folder. Another option that you could do, and the one that Jamal talks about, is actually doing a survey with the students and sending home the list of questions with them, and then having them talk to their family members and come back and actually interview them. And the directions on how to do those are in this folder. And those are done one-on-one interviews, and I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math intervention, and my students all have different lunch periods than me, and none of them, like very few of my students have the same lunch period. And so finding a time where I wouldn't be interrupting their learning in other classes and interviewing them during lunch wasn't really an option that I had. But that is also outlined in that survey delivery and interview delivery. And then we brainstormed with the MLM team and we thought, well, maybe if we provided another means for students to tell what they know. And I have used a Google extension called Moat, which is free, that allows you to add teacher voice. And students can also add voice back to you using the Google extension. And so we created the teacher presentation again for the students to know what you're asking. And then the student presentation, each student will be provided a copy of the Google Slides. And with the Moat, the teacher can insert their voice, but then students can also use this Google extension with this M and voice record their answers if that would be something that they would be more comfortable with. And so that's another option that you could do. And so those are some of the things that are in this folder that I hope that you find useful. And if you would like to reach out to me, please do. I'm at Twitter at M&M Math. And then you can also email me at melanienn@gmail.com, and I would be glad to chat with you. And I hope you find this helpful.